What's up, guys? It's me, your host, Tom Dark, back at it again with another video. This isn't even a live stream. This is just a pre-recorded thing. I decided to talk to Boogie. He asked me to talk to him after my latest video. You may have seen a little bit of a drama on Twitter. Maybe I'll pop that at the beginning of this video just for some context. But we're going to go in the studio. We're going to have a conversation with Boogie. You can see I've got my camera on. Yeah, we're going to see what Boogie has to say to me. I don't know what he exactly wants to talk about even, but yeah, I guess we're going to be going in. Hello, Boogie2988. Are you there? What's he doing?
Hey, dude, what's up?
What's up, Boogie? How's it going?
Hey, man, nice to actually meet you. I've watched a lot of your stuff. I know you're not the biggest fan of me, but I have enjoyed a good amount of your content. I don't always agree with everything you have to say or everything you do, but I'm excited to actually get a chance to talk to you today. And hopefully we can talk about, like, I mostly am interested in talking. Do you know the premise of this podcast, like when Keemstar did it and stuff?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so the idea of it's called Power of the Internet, and it's basically, we don't have to do this today, but it's what I would like you to do. And then we can talk about whatever you want to during it as well. But it's just like your rise to fame, how you initially got famous, what you were doing when you got famous, how you got to where you are now, how things are going now for you, any advice you have to people who want to follow in your footsteps. And I think in your particular case, because you're in the commentary community, and you're critical of people, like what advice you would have to people like me who want to avoid your gaze? Like, what is it that I've been fucking up that you want to avoid? And I mean, that's the premise of the podcast. We can do that structure if you want to, or we can just get into the meat of the criticisms you have about me as well.
Okay. I thought this was like you had some questions about my video or something.
I mean, yeah, I mean, definitely would love to talk about that as well. Like, I would love it if you interviewed me and just talked about all the things that you had to say in that video.
Okay.
I skimmed through it. But yeah, that's the structure we could take today, man. Like, I'm mostly just, if I'm being honest with you, I would like somebody to hold me accountable for the fucked up shit I've actually done, and I would like to bed a lot of the shit that I haven't done. Like, I was doing a little bit of research last night, and I saw a video that you made claiming that I have like fake Twitter accounts or alt Twitter accounts or something.
You definitely do. You do. For
no,
sure.
I don't.
Yeah,
I genuinely
you do.
don't.
Yeah, you do.
No,
yes,
I genuinely don't.
Yes, you do.
I mean, like, I won't disagree that those Twitter accounts are fake. But it's not me running them. I'm not
Boogie. Who else would be running those accounts, man? Come on,
dude. I have a Kiwi farm of like 500,000 posts. One of those guys, one of the guys who spent like 5 years.
They would just like insult you or call you fat. They wouldn't do that.
I think some of them are smarter than you think they are. But I mean, catfishing happens all the time. I've had 2 or 3 catfishing attempts in the world. So the fact that they're creating female accounts to try to get my attention was not lost on me, and I'm surprised it's lost on you. But like, that's a good one to talk about. I can't prove that I didn't do that, but I did.
The thing is, you understand, like, part of the reason I believe that it is you is because there's 10 other instances where you've like lied, like the swatting. You lied about being swatted.
Well, so no. Okay.
Yes,
well,
you did. You did lie about being swatted.
I got, to me, weaponizing welfare checks is the same as swatting. So when somebody is purposely,
that's not what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Don't play dumb. There was a situation where you were claiming that Sam and Tolkien was swatting you.
No, I just attributed it to the wrong people, but I did. Oh, yeah, where I changed the dates around. Yeah, that was a stupid mistake. We'll talk about that.
No. In DMs, you told someone that Sam and Tolkien was swatting you, and then afterwards, you were like, it was all a big troll op. Actually, I was planting misinformation.
Here's the truth about that.
And I can see you in your head coming up with like things to say as you like look. You're like, I'm gonna make up a new lie.
Well,
no, it's so crazy.
So, no, what I'm doing here is I'm trying to think before I speak, because if I'm not careful, it'll be another one of those got you moments.
But the thing is, with something like this, where I'm just asking you about events that happen, it's not your opinion. It should just be like, this is what happened.
Okay, so
but
here's
it's never like that. But it's now you're doing it. But it's never like that with you.
No, I know, because I'm terrible. Dude, my brain doesn't work good. Do you understand that? Do you understand what it's like?
Yeah, I do understand that. I do understand. Yes.
And so, like, I often speak without thinking. I mean, like, I'm a slave to my own misfunctioning brain. It's insane that I function as a person. I don't think people realize exactly how mentally ill I actually am. I don't think you understand. But if I didn't have enablers in my life, and if I didn't have a best friend in the last 25 years that helps me keep my shit together, bills wouldn't get paid. The mortgage would. Like, I don't know how to function. It's a fucking miracle I know how to upload to YouTube. It's a fucking miracle that I know how to fucking stay alive, man. But we'll get into it. So here, let me do a little intro, and then, like, exactly that. That's exactly what everybody wants to see, right? And bring that same energy. And I can only tell you the truth today, and that's all I'll do.
Are we not recording yet? Are we not recording?
No, we're not. We will now if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Let me figure out. I'm sorry, I'm so anxious. I forget how to hit record right now. Okay, here it is. All right.
You gotta be anxious. I'm not gonna like lie. I'm not gonna bring Frank Hassel in here.
Okay, good. All right.
I think the only way he would come in anyway is if you let him. So he's not here.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, somebody told me, I'm not going to rat out somebody who told me, but somebody told me not to trust you and that like you would arrange some stunts for this and like just clown on me. You're not interested in the actual interview or anything like that. You would just use it as an excuse to embarrass me or something. I told them that I thought you were wrong, and I'm glad that they were wrong. But it's one of our mutuals. Like, you probably figure out who I'm talking about, but
okay.
I'm not going to point a finger or anything. Oh, yeah, hold on. All right, let me hit record again. What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live again through the power of the internet. And I have an episode of Power of the Internet that I think is going to be a little bit different. I have wanted to talk about my own controversies, my own rise to fame, my introduction to the internet and the problems that I've had here. And I thought, who would be the best person to do this? At some point, I thought Keemstar would be a really good choice. But obviously, I've already interviewed Keemstar on here, and I felt like having him interview me would be probably not that fitting. So this week, fortuitously, the man, the myth, the legend, Turkey Tom himself, who I think, I was trying to count it up last night, I think you've made over a dozen videos about me. So I think you're fairly well versed in the lore, fairly well versed in me as a person. So I feel like you are probably the right person to ask these questions and have me answer them. And we talked a little bit before I hit the record button. I definitely don't know that you're here to hear what I have to say today as much as like confirming your beliefs. But I promise you, Tom, right here on My Dog's Life, I will give you all the truth I have and more. I will be as genuine with you in ways that I've never been genuine before because I'm kind of tired. I'm really, yeah, like sometimes I don't know. So I have lied. And if we uncover one of those lies today, I'm more than glad to talk about what I lied about and why I lied about it. And I have no intention of lying to you today. But just for the people who are tuning in for the first time, who are unfamiliar with what you do, that's bizarre to me because you are now, in my opinion, the largest person in the commentary community. You're the person I go to more frequently than anybody else. But for those of you who don't know, can you give them a little bit of introduction about who you are and what you do?
I just make videos about Boogie. That's my only interest.
That's definitely something you have done for sure. But
yeah.
I think, but yeah, I would say you talk about a little bit of everything. You definitely talked about YouTube drama for the most part. You've delved into politics a little bit, but not too terribly much. At the beginning of your YouTube career, when you began YouTube when you were what, 15? Is that accurate?
I think I was 14. Yeah, I was pretty young.
And you're what, 21 now?
Just about, yeah.
So you're still a baby. Are there things that when you were 14 that you did that you regret now, out of curiosity? Like, do you think you've like learned and grown as a person over the last 7 years?
Yeah, of course. Most of it was not on YouTube. Most of it was not on YouTube.
Yeah. I think that's one of my biggest mistakes is I put everything on YouTube, like too much on YouTube. But it's been interesting watching you change and grow as a person. I had reconnected with you earlier in this week with your content because I was doing the iDubbbz stuff and like seeing what everybody had to say about it. And I was very interested in hearing what you had to say. And it's funny because I largely agreed with your opinion on the iDubbbz situation, but that's a whole other thing. So that's it. What kind of questions do you have for me? Let's start at the very beginning. I know you made a video about me very recently. Where did you start with in that video? What was like the first controversy you talked about?
I don't know that there's a ton of questions I have because I feel like I already know that you're gonna bullshit me in this interview. I already know what happened. I guess I can retread the video if you want.
Well, there's definitely some things that you were wrong about in that video, and I can point out a few.
Okay, what's I wrong
but I'd rather just start at the beginning.
What was I wrong about? I'd like to start there.
Well, so you heavily implied that you did not state that some of the abuse allegations I've made or all of the abuse allegations that I've made are falsified. And that's probably the biggest sticking point that I really was frustrated with in the video.
Okay, I'm sorry you took it that way, but I don't think you actually think that. I think that if you watch the video, which I don't know if you watched that whole portion. I don't know how much you watched. If you watched the video,
I find it very painful to watch these types of videos for me, especially once misinformation is put out there. And so when I see misinformation, I click it off immediately. And that's where I got to with your video. And I mostly skimmed it up to that.
There was no misinformation in the video. And if there was, you would have an easy slam dunk of a video being like, Turkey Tom lied about me, because there's plenty of people that would love to see that. But
well, I can't prove something that happened 30 years ago. the people who did it are dead.
You don't have to prove that it happened. You could just say that it's if you genuinely think that I accused you of lying about being molested or something, you could just say he accused me of lying about being molested. That's horrible. I was molested. You could just say that, and you would look great to the YouTube audience. You would look amazing.
Well,
but
again,
that's not what I did in the video. In the video, I showed, and even you acknowledge this, which is crazy, and it's crazy that you even say this right now. In the video, I'm like, there's a bunch of contradictions. I don't think he lied about abuse, but this was a point when people began to question, maybe he lied about other things. And I showed that in the video, but in the video itself, I explicitly state, and there was no begging the question, I state, there's no reason to think he lied about this stuff. That would be too insane, even for Boogie. And I actually have a tweet right here.
I missed that part, so I think that's great. I did not see that
I don't think you missed it, because it was in the replies of your video, and you even replied to a clip of it on Twitter. You replied to someone talking about it.
Sure.
Let me see here. You said, I will give you credit for one thing. I've been very bad at communicating my history, and I don't blame people for doubting it, including yourself. That's the best I can do, my friend. Be well and have a good life.
True.
So that's the thing. It's like, on one hand, you accuse me of doing something I didn't do, and on the other hand, you say, well, even if you did do that, I don't blame you.
So here's my point of view. Let's take somebody like Sean Hannity, or who's the other guy that just recently got fired from Fox News. Tucker, yeah. Like Tucker, all he does is ask questions, but they're very leading questions. And I find that a lot of times when I watch your video essays, they're very leading. You won't outright say that this is what I believe, but it's pretty apparent that it's what you believe and what you want your audience.
Do you have any like examples of that? I'm curious.
Well, just this. It seemed like in this particular case, you're afraid to say, I think Boogie's lying, but it seems to be
I know you lied, not about that. I don't know you lied about that. I'd say you probably told the truth about that. But once again, in the video itself, I say I don't think he lied. You responded on Twitter publicly to a clip of me saying that I don't think he lied. And now,
well, I literally had somebody come out and like, this is how that went down on Friday. The initial tweet that I saw was Turkey Tom came out and said in the video that you lied. So I was responding to them without watching the video for myself, and that's my mistake. I'm a very reactionary person.
Why would you do that?
Because I'm an idiot. I think you should know that by now. If you're as steeped in lore as you are, you should know that I'm a low IQ individual.
You're not low IQ
with a new diverse brain.
You're relatively intelligent, but if you have like the self-awareness to know that that's something you do, like you can avoid that behavior.
Yeah, it's I don't know if people really know what it's like to be as mentally ill. Do you struggle with anything that you're willing to share today? Obviously, some people want to keep this kind of private stuff private. But have you ever dealt with delusion? Have you ever dealt with that kind of thing? So I have the majority of my life, and I think you've seen quite a bit of that on YouTube. And sure, like certainly delusions of grandeur when I was at the top of my YouTube channel, but more talking about delusions of catastrophizing and making things out to be worse than they are in my own brain and genuinely believing it. Like I convinced myself on Friday and was reacting to the reality that you had lied in that video, and all it took was one single tweet.
So eventually, is that why you lied about the swatting and stuff? Is that part of the delusion?
So that one we talked about a little bit. And for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, and correct me where I'm wrong, during the year of 2018 and 2019, I got a bunch of weaponized welfare checks. In fact, if you want to see proof of that, there's body cam footage that one of my trolls uploaded to YouTube of a weaponized welfare check happening. I'm in it. My house is in it. Or no, I'm not in it. The one that got uploaded is I was gone. But I'm in it. My roommate's in it. My house is in it. My dogs are in it. You can see all of that. And it's one of several incidents that happened that year with weaponized welfare check. And then later that year, I was DMing one of these guys from this subreddit. And I said to that subreddit that number one, I thought it was people from that subreddit that was doing that. And number two, that it happened twice in the last 30 days. So what you said is that
you said is that you'd been swatted is the terminology you used.
So this is one of my biggest mistakes. Like, for example, when we talked about molestation, when I first talked about molestation, I referred to the molestation that I received as rape. Do you remember that? And I referred to it as that because I considered it to be statutory. But somebody quickly educated me that the proper term for what happened to me is not because I wasn't forcibly penetrated. What happened to me was molestation. And so I had to change my story to say it was molestation, right? And this is one of those cases where I have now learned to refer to it as weaponized welfare checks because that's what it is specifically.
Okay, but so what doesn't make sense about what you're saying is that after all the drama was done and you got caught for lying about swatting, you claimed that you had intentionally fed them misinformation.
I did. I changed those dates on purpose. I knew for a fact that I had had received several weaponized welfare checks in the previous years. And I wanted them, because I knew how they worked, I knew they would look at the police blotters. I wanted them to prove that they had happened. And I knew that they would be like, no, he didn't get swatted on these dates. He got swatted on these different dates. And
okay, so one option then.
I thought it was a mastermind move. I thought I was being smart. It turns out to be a very stupid thing to have done.
So you understand? So one option is that you like lied pathologically.
Sure, I
which
did.
I think happened.
I definitely lied there.
And the other option is that you lied to make yourself look worse.
Well, what do you think I lied about? First off, I didn't lie about the weaponized welfare check. They happened.
You lied about having a secret deal with the police department during which they would not keep records.
Yeah, that was a very stupid thing.
But the thing is, like, you say that's a very stupid thing, but that ties into the whole thing. That ties into the whole situation.
Of course it does. I thought I was playing 4D chess. I was delusional. I thought I was playing 4D chess, and I'm like, I'm going to get these sons of bitches to prove that they've actually swatted me. They're going to admit it. I thought I was playing 4D chess. No, I was just making an ass out of myself. I was just being a fucking idiot. But I hope that shows you to the depths of delusion that I deal with from time to time. I genuinely thought that was going to play out in my favor. I thought that they would, and they did. They proved that I'd been swatted several times, weaponized welfare checked several times that year. They proved it and said, look, he's wrong about the dates. He changed the dates. He lied. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit that somebody was weaponizing welfare checks, wasting the time of both the police and the rescue squads and the fire department, because they all show up during a welfare checks. I don't know. I presumed it's Kiwi Farms. I presume it's Sam and Tolkien.
That maybe because of your threats of suicide, someone made a legitimate welfare check to your house?
No, because they weren't vocal at that time. This was early of 2018 is when the first one happened. So no, it wasn't until a DM in 2018.
Wasn't it VidCon 2018 that you
No, it was 2019. And it was these. Yeah, it was 2019. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, I had the intention of killing myself on my birthday of July 24th, 2019. And VidCon happened to be just before that. So I recorded like a Last Francis video and got it produced, and it was Francis covering My Way. And I planned to upload that as like my goodbye, you know? And then I went to VidCon. But here's the thing, Tom, I didn't really want to die. I just wanted to not be in constant mental and physical pain all the time. And I wanted to not be suffering the way I was suffering. So I went to VidCon and I talked to every person there. And I'm like, how do I fix this problem? I've got like 4,000 people on a subreddit every day who take my words out of context, who take and like astroturf it to every potential subreddit they can until it gets voted up. I make the front page of Reddit over and over again, sometimes for legitimate mistakes, but also with like bullshit things like I abuse women or I abused my ex-wife, and that fucks with me super bad. And like, how do I solve this problem? Because if I don't solve this problem, I'm going home and fucking killing myself.
Okay, so
it was a horrible.
I sympathize with you. The Sam and Tolkien thread was not amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing is that like every YouTuber deals with stuff like that.
I'm just not equipped for it. I'm glad that you're equipped for that. I've never been equipped for that kind of hate. I don't know how to deal with it. And I would say that I got it at a considerably higher level than most. I think there are definitely people.
Why do you think you got it at a higher level?
Because my subreddit had the largest numbers for the most part. Oh, and you mean like at random? I think part of it is my weight. I think I am extremely fat, and a lot of people have issues with that. I think a lot of it is because I'm such an incredible lolcow. I respond to everybody. I respond to everything. I find it extremely difficult to not. I mean, hell, I'm doing this interview with you, and this is probably career side, right? But I'm going to do it anyway because I hope it helps and entertains and educates people. And also, even though I know it's a bad idea, I'm incapable of stopping myself. Like several people have told me not to do this. And on top of that, I've definitely made some stupid mistakes and said some really stupid shit.
I seriously don't understand why you're doing it. You have no benefit to talking to me.
There's three reasons, really. This is how I've justified it. Oh, one second, my puppy needs it. Here's how I've justified it in my mind. Hopefully it can give you an idea of my delusions. Number one, in my mind, I like Turkey Tom. I don't like everything you've done. I don't like everything you said. Same thing I said about iDubbbz. Same thing I'll say about Ethan Klein. Same thing I'll say about everybody. But there are parts about your content that I like, and I think I like you as a person for the most part. Though I don't know you that well, right?
The other day, you called me like a racist on Twitter. You claimed that I lied.
Oh yeah, you definitely said some racist shit, and yeah.
But you have too.
So here's one of my worst issues. The worse a person treats me, the more I want to convince them they're wrong. Why I'm worried like that, I don't know. It's really weird. It's the same reason I befriended Keemstar. That's why
So
I
why
went
did
to
you call
London
me
and the rest of my
racist,
life.
though?
Because you said racist. It was racist to say
But you
those
said
things.
racist stuff too.
Yeah, but I think you said in that one set of screenshots more racist than I've said in the last 20
That's
years.
definitely not true.
I made a joke about people of color being broke because I thought historically people of color in this nation have not been given the opportunity to build wealth, and I thought people would get that joke.
Yeah,
I made another.
that's really why you were saying that, or just because you thought it was a funny racist joke, Boogie. There was a
Because
great
that's what was going.
there was a
So do
great
you?
joke about like institutionalized oppression and
So do you know
wealth
the
disparity.
history? Do you know the history of that moment? Other than the clip, do you know the context of that clip? Out of curiosity.
I
So
guess not.
I have a friend named Kelsey, who would donate to my live stream every time I live stream, 5 nights a week almost. And he had a username called Sparkle Dump, and he would always donate with the message, "I'm a black person." And I would try to riff on that every time. And like the first time he did it, I
So
said
you
something
mid a
like,
joke. So you made a
yeah,
joke. This is
yeah, I
this
said, "Stay
context
black
doesn't
and-"
change anything. I'm not saying you're
Right.
racist. I'm saying you
Stay-
made a joke. I'm saying it's ridiculous for you to call me racist when I have people from other Boogie accounts combing through your old internet shit to find you saying even
Are
more
you
racist stuff
racist?
about
That's
black
out of
girls.
curiosity. Are you racist?
Am I racist?
Yeah. Like, do you dislike people of color?
No.
Do you think less of people of color?
No.
Do you think less of Jewish people?
No.
Why do you feel comfortable making those jokes? Because I've made maybe 4 of those jokes in 20 years, and I feel very
you fucking
uncomfortable having
haven't.
made them.
No, you
No, I have.
not.
You can count them.
Dude, you
Literally.
claimed to be a 4chan guy. You went on fucking debated podcast. You were like, I said fag this, fag that.
Actually, I will tell you. So let's be honest about that. I'll kind of have to blur that. So I grew up on Sam Kinison, Lenny Bruce. I still watch Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle to this day. I watch you. I watched old school IDubs.
Okay, so you understand people like to make jokes.
Yeah, of course.
So why the fuck are you mad at me for shit I said in private on Discord, Boogie?
I just thought you called me racist in that video, so calling you racist.
I didn't call you racist in the video.
Did you not bring up like old racist clips in that video or something like that?
No.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's what I thought you did. See, again, I'm functioning on my limited capacity of brain power.
Don't you think you should like get off the internet then?
Probably not. It's my only income. I'm a disabled man. I don't really know what else I could possibly do to earn a living. So this is the only thing I feel like I can do.
You could like get like an IT job or something, like normal.
I'm not qualified for it, and I definitely don't have the mental health to hold down a job. I've tried for sure. I barely function as a YouTuber, and this is one of the easiest jobs I think there is to have.
Don't you
so
think
can
you
you
could
imagine?
like improve your life in some way? Like you're totally defeatist about this. You could like, I don't know, go to the gym.
Oh, I go to the gym. I just joined a new gym this last week. The problem is, I don't know if you know, have you ever been morbidly obese, Tom? I don't know. I imagine you have not had any weight issues.
No.
Okay. If you've never been morbidly obese, you may not know this, but the majority of weight loss has very little to do with exercise and mostly about controlling your diet. And any doctor will tell you that. And that's where, again, I don't think people understand my level of addiction, my level of mental illness. I have a lot of trouble controlling the things I do. I have a lot of trouble
these are things that
controlling
you can overcome. You don't just have to accept them for what they are. Like
right, and I work on them every day. I'm in therapy again right now. I just got back into it after this fight because I knew I was going to need it.
Therapy is clearly not enough. Like you're like my dad's age, and you're totally defeatist about this.
Yeah. Did your dad go through the things that I went through? Do you think?
Probably not. No.
Yeah, and so I think that's one of the biggest issues. Is my brain is like a jumbled wire of it's just a fucking mess, man, and it's difficult to function.
But you know this about yourself.
Yeah, and I think I do a pretty goddamn good job. I think someone with my experiences, with my body, still being alive at 48, that alone is a triumph. So many people that I loved and respected that have been my size have already died by the time they're this age. John Candy, Ralphie May, so many incredibly much more intelligent and talented people than I ever was, right? I've outlived them all, and that sucks.
Doesn't that give you the inspiration, though? Like you could change your lifestyle, change your diet.
But I have, like, I've lost 200 pounds in the last 5 years and kept it off. And I'm really proud of that. I've gotten therapy. I've done psychedelics. I'm communicating with you here. I have the intelligence and the capacity to be able to sit down and have this conversation with you. And I think it's pretty damn cool. I'm actually really proud of what I've accomplished. I think it's insane that I was able to be on the internet for 20 years. I think it's insane that I was able to entertain people for as long as I have. I think it's insane that I've earned 1 billion views on the platform and people were either entertained or inspired by that. And I'm actually really proud of that. And so I think there's 2 different ways to look at it. I can look at my life as a lot of people think I do. Oh, poor pity me. I'm just going to sit on my ass not try to do anything and not try to accomplish her. I can do what I do every day, which is try to control what I eat, try to control this brain, try to control this body, see my doctor, hit the gym, make a YouTube content, live stream, interview Tom Dark. And I'm actually really proud that I choose
Well, it is like,
to
I mean,
do
you
that.
were offered a job at Meta PCs, and did
Well,
you
no, I
take
wasn't.
that?
That was a bit. You know, that was a bit. Like, ask Zach right now. I was never offered a job. That was a bit.
I thought it
They
was real.
sponsored. They're one of my sponsors. No, it was definitely a bit. It's another one of those L's that you guys have to take, because Zach will
How
tell
is
you
that
right
an L?
now, because you guys are so convinced I lied about that one too.
I just asked you.
Oh, okay. Well, so many people are. You might not have been. You might not have been convinced that it was an actual offer, and you might have just been
I
trolling.
mean,
there,
I
but some
thought
people
I
were.
thought it might have been. I was curious.
Well, it wasn't. It was a bit. It was a. They've been a sponsor of mine for now for 2 years, and we were just trying to sell PCs. Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact, and I think anybody who's watched me on YouTube would know for a fact, I'm pretty much unhireable, man. I don't know what job can you break down in tears in the middle of? What job can you show up and not be able to stand up for more than 3
Okay.
minutes?
Well, let's talk about
right?
YouTube then. Have you thought about changing your content? Because clearly, whatever you're doing right now is not really getting the numbers, right?
Well, so I did a shift after I did a shift. I like vlogging, and I haven't been doing much of it. So my friend Michael, kid behind the camera, took me under his wing, and we made some vlogs, and they did pretty well. And so I'm trying to learn to do he does, and without all the clickbaiting and all of that stuff. And I also really like travel content. So I actually made the announcement today on Twitter that I think what I'm going to do with this fight money when it comes in is invest in getting out there more, doing more, and filming those experiences, because people seem to be enjoying it. Somebody on my comment thread called it comfy content, and I like it. But here's the thing: I will never be able to compete with the likes of you. The amount of editing. I don't have the skill or the talent. Nor the patience, nor the time.
What I have isn't skill or talent. Like, I just put the time in.
Yeah, I spend so much time in my day seeing doctors, trying to control this brain, trying to control this body, trying to control these emotions. I don't have you made an hour-long video about me. Out of curiosity, how many hours do you think that took you? And I presume you have an editor. So you and your editor, editing, filming, scripting, writing, research. How many hours do you think that took you? That one video?
Combined, I don't know, a lot, like 50 maybe.
50 hours? That's insane. I don't have the patience. My current therapist thinks I'm dealing with ADHD. I don't know if I am or not. I don't know that I'll ever get tested for it, but I do know that my brain works very similar to that. I have difficulty setting and doing anything for an hour. I have difficulty setting for an hour because of my back pain, much less sitting in a chair slumped over editing.
Has thinking about this stuff throughout your life, has it helped you a lot?
What do you mean, like therapy or like talking about this stuff, or exactly what do you mean?
Well, no. When I was talking to you, you were like, well, I don't have time to do what you do. And I say, well, how is that? You say, well, I have to see doctors, I have to see a therapist, and then I have to spend time controlling this brain or controlling this body.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do?
Probably piss.
And then?
Shower.
Well, I piss and shower. And then I spend the first 2 or 3 hours of my day trying to not hate being alive, trying to get myself out of physical pain, trying to get myself out of mental pain so that I can put on a smile for my friends, for my audience, for the people that care, for the people at the gas station when I go get gas, or at the pharmacy when I go get my meds.
But is that time like ruminating on that ever like changed your life for the better?
Yes, because otherwise I will make it similar to the catastrophic mistakes I've made on YouTube. I'll make those catastrophic mistakes at the gas station, at the pharmacy, with a friend. I have to spend that time meditating. I mean, for all lack of a better term, meditating and learning to get my brain into a functioning mode. It takes effort. It takes time. It sucks, but that's what it is. I got up today at 10 a.m. Do you know what I've done today? I've done nothing but prepare for this interview so that I would not lose my emotions. I wouldn't cry in front of you. I wouldn't lose my temper in front of you. I have literally played a handful of video games. I talked to my girlfriend. I played with my dogs. I did all of these things so that I would be in the right headspace for this interview so I wouldn't make a complete and utter ass out of myself. And that's I will spend the rest of this night ruminating over what we talked about here, beating myself up and trying not to have a meltdown on Twitter, because that's just how my brain works for whatever reason. I don't know why it is the way that it is, but that's the brain I live in, it sucks. Yeah. But yeah, so to go back to some of the things that I've lied about in the past, one of the things I wanted to bring up, you are convinced, and you made a video, and we talked about this prior, that I have alt accounts on Twitter and I pretend to like my own tweets or pretend to be a girl that likes me or something like that. I skimmed through the video, so I don't know.
I don't know if you do right now, but you did.
No, I never did. And it's so interesting because they were doing it so badly. Why would I continue to do it the first time I got called out if I was doing it? it. And
Well,
why would I do it so badly? Why would I do it at all?
You do almost everything badly. Why would you continue to do anything? You're totally masochistic about it. If someone calls you out for something, you almost are tempted to just do it forever.
Well, it depends. Give me an example of something you think that's
that.
I didn't.
Or like with
so
the SWAT. Okay, you can say you didn't. Or like,
we'll
just go back to the swatting thing. That's a super easy thing. Instead of just like copying to it right away and being like, actually, I was talking about these dates. Instead, you made up a lie about having a secret deal with a police station wherein they would hide evidence that there were people coming to your house. Okay, but that's not delusion. You lied about that.
I convinced myself that lying about that would give me the best possible result.
Okay, so that's an example of during which you had an easy out and instead you took the wrong path, clearly. And that's the same thing with the alt accounts. Why would you do it so poorly? Well, you like to do things poorly. Why would you keep doing it after you got called out? Because you love to do everything after you get called out. When you get called out for fence sitting, you immediately start arguing about how you're not a fence sitter, and then you are a fence sitter, and then you're not one.
Well, so I do think this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. I'm very bad at communicating. I don't know if it's the way my brain is wired. I don't know if it's the autism. I have a very difficult time understanding how other people are going to take things when I say them. And then I don't have very good control of filtering myself. Those are two bad things I'm very bad at. And they ultimately come out as a horrible combination of things to have, right? Especially in this sphere that we're in. And so like, because I have bullshit people, like exactly, I lied about the swatting thing. That was a very stupid thing to do. To change those dates was a dumb fucking thing to do. And because I lied there and I got caught in the lie, I understand why you don't believe me on the alt accounts. There's no way that I can convince you otherwise. I can't find out who actually was doing that. I can't prove to you that they did it. I can't prove to you where I was when I did it. And so one of the biggest issues
is also with the hacking thing. You claim that your Twitter account was hacked, and
it did. That actually happened.
That doesn't
I immediately went to a second account and was tweeting from it the whole time. Why would I go to a second account and tweet from it the whole time? To make it
look real, obviously.
I love the credit that you're giving me here, and that's amazing that you think I'm that level of mastermind. But I'm just
it's not a mastermind thing. It's the most simple thing you would do, and you say you wouldn't do it, and then you just admitted to me that during the swatting thing, you at least admit that you lied about the deal with the police.
Right. Well, I will admit about the things that I did.
So you make one lie to cover up another lie.
Well, I will admit about the things that I lied about. Absolutely, but I can't admit to these things because I didn't do them. Well, I got hacked.
You'll say you didn't do them right now because I don't have the evidence to.
Well, no, I stood by them the whole time, and you'll never have evidence because you might find evidence that you can mislead others with to think that you're right.
I mean, for example,
but there is no evidence because
with the hacking thing, you were like, it happened through this Mob Crush thing, and then Mob Crush tweets out, no, it actually wasn't that.
Well, no, that was just my best.
And then if you take a look at what they actually did during the hacking, think about it. If I'm a hater who wants to hack you,
right?
Why would I not leak anything?
I think the same reason they created the Twitter accounts that you're talking about, and they did it in the way that they did it because they want me to look bad. I think they want me to look incompetent.
Way more from leaking your messages.
There was nothing to leak.
There definitely everyone's.
No, there really isn't. Like I'll give you access to my Twitter account. There's nothing to leak. There's nothing interesting there. There's nothing interesting there. If they got into my Twitter account, they're not going to find anything interesting.
So you think they looked around, they were like, oh, there's actually nothing. Boogie's a good guy, and then they left.
Well, I mean, no. Just think they were probably very disappointed to find nothing there.
You don't think they would have taken more time to go through all your messages?
Well, I mean, they had over a week. I was locked out of my account for over a week. I literally had to have a brand sponsor reach out to another creator who knew somebody at Twitter to get the account back because they changed the recovery information immediately. So yeah, they had a week and a half to go through it. There's nothing there to find. I'm a really boring person for the most part. But in the things that I'm not boring in, like for example, I have somebody I've been dating for the last 7 months. I don't leave a paper trail. I don't follow her on any social media accounts. I don't take photos with her. I don't even really go anywhere in public with her because that's something people would genuinely be interested in. And I'm afraid of her getting hurt. I'm afraid of her getting attacked like so many of the women I've dated in the past. So we just keep it entirely invisible. And so I've always known that there's a chance people get into my Twitter account. There's always a chance that people get into my emails. So I don't do anything there that's remotely interesting. If you get into any of my accounts, you're going to be bored out of your fucking mind.
Do it on your websites. You used to write all this like vile shit about, because you ran like a blog.
Oh, I did. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know that, back in the 90s, again, I was disabled. I was having a lot of difficulty finding income. So I built my own income the same way I did with YouTube. And originally I was just doing web design. I taught myself HTML and also took a class on it, and then learned a little bit of MySQL, and then used that to eventually do what brought real money in, which is designing websites for poor people. And then I started working with like a lot of individual girls back at the time, designing their websites for them, even short content, photos and stuff with them. And keep in mind, when I say content, I'm not talking like Pornhub level of stuff. It was all R-rated stuff back in the day. It was really difficult to get footage developed back then.
So without getting too deep down this rabbit hole, you get what I'm saying though. Like you're not super into curating your public image because you've done stuff like this in the past.
Well, that was in the 90s. So no, I was not.
You say that's in the 90s, but then you go on the Baited podcast and talk about how you used to be on 4chan all the time, which obviously if you don't want people to know that, you wouldn't say it. But that obviously
I read 4chan. I very rarely ever posted 4chan on 4chan. But when I did post on 4chan, I'll tell you one of the most interesting lessons I've learned in life. So like I said, I grew up on Sam Kinison, Dave Chappelle, even Lenny Bruce. I've listened to some Lenny Bruce, and that guy was fucking vile for a purpose, but still. I watched old iDubbbz. I watched old You. I've seen, some of the messed up stuff that creators have said, right? And I know that you guys didn't mean it. And so one of the craziest thing that ever happened to me on 4chan is I would read like Poll every once in a while, but I was mostly on random. And the people that were posting stuff there, I thought they didn't mean it. And ultimately, when I left 4chan in 2012 was probably the last time I posted there, but I genuinely left it in like 2008.
So I thought on Baited you were like, I was a huge 4chan head. I was saying like new, F slur this, F slur that, like.
Oh yeah, no, I grew up saying the F word all the time.
You said it on 4chan and that you were like a big time poster. I thought.
No, much more of a reader.
I might have on that podcast.
I don't think I would because it wouldn't be true. But then, like a lot of times, I have been embellisher. I've been an embellisher to tell a good story. I'm a good storyteller, and sometimes that requires embellishment. So I might have for the purposes of a story. For example, like another thing I just straight up lied about was on the PKA podcast, and I was talking about defending my girlfriend. And what it really came down to is just like a nerd at a magic shop saying some shit to my wife, right? And me telling him to leave him alone. But I embellished the story to where it's like I got up in his face and told him to go fuck himself, and he knew when he took one look at me. I've embellished stories like that for sure. And it's one of my biggest mistakes is that I never really thought about the consequences of somebody being like, well, I bet you were actually just sitting in your chair telling the guy to stop being an asshole. I never thought, like, it's just a story. I'm just storytelling. So I might have in that situation, but no, I didn't post on 4chan. I was more of a reader for the most part. But that's not to say, I think the thing that you're getting at is, have I made racist jokes in the past? Absolutely. Have I said things like, I still use the word now because I am neurodivergent. Did I say FAGGOT back in the day? I absolutely did. We'd say it about everything on the football team, for example, or in band. This was an FAG and you're an FAG and we're both FAGs. You would say that about everybody, but the gay kid, if you said that to the gay kid, we'll fucking curb stomp your ass, right? Nobody actually says that to the gay kid. That's a fucking slur when you use it that way, right?
So because of that, if you understand the context of why did it bother you so much to the point that you felt the need to, I think you deleted the tweet now, but you tweeted, you were like, here's Turkey Tom, by the way, with like a
because I thought you were calling me out on being racist, so I was like, I'm going to call him out on the same thing. Yeah.
But why would you ever think that?
Because I thought it was hypocritical to call me out on making racist jokes if you've made racist jokes.
But where did you get the understanding that I called you out for being racist?
Delusion. I literally went back into my old habits on Friday and built all of this up in my head.
I feel like that doesn't even make sense with the tweets themselves, because you were saying in the tweets, you were like, well, I promise you, I and we are not okay with what Tom said. Many creators would be ashamed. Is like something to that effect.
I to be honest with you, and this is my opinion, I try not to say things like that anymore, and I make a pretty strong effort to not say things like this anymore. But I will admit, from time to time,
those DMs were from like
and the reason,
2018.
well, yeah, hold on, I agree. But what I'm saying is, I think I have learned why I choose not to say those words anymore. There's a story. Are you familiar with Bob Saget? He had a podcast before he was murdered.
I know who he is.
Yeah, and there's a podcast episode. I made a video about this. BJ Novak had a joke that he liked to tell that he can't tell anymore, and I'm going to repeat the joke here. And I'll probably get canceled, but it is a joke, so keep in mind. But the joke is that BJ Novak would be on stage in the middle of a set. He would say, "We need a new Hitler. We need a new Hitler for healthcare." a new Hitler for education, a new Hitler for climate control. And if he has a few questions, answers to the Jewish problem, maybe we should hear him out, right? And that's horribly awful, horrible, offensive joke. And the entire thing is BJ Novak is Jewish, so you know he doesn't mean it. The reason he doesn't tell that joke anymore is because people in the audience might agree with him these days. That's why I think you don't tell those jokes anymore. Certainly why I don't tell those jokes anymore is because there's people in the audience who might think I mean them.
Do you think there could always be someone that would think that you mean it?
Yeah, and that's why I just choose not to risk it.
But don't you think that was the case back then?
I can be funny without it. And so I try to be funny.
Do you think that was the case back then too, though?
No. I'm an old man. I know you're only 20, but I can assure you that there's a period of time where the vast majority of us knew that a comedian was just telling jokes. I'm sure there's like
the vast majority of people do know that. That's why Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan are popular, because they go up and people think it's a joke. They're not popular because neo-Nazis
I would disagree, because we've seen a rise of neo-Nazis who mean it. I mean, you remember I live in Arkansas. I live less than 100 miles from the home of the Klan. They live up in Harrison, 100 miles from my front door.
Because neo-Nazis like them. That's why they're popular.
No, not why they're popular, but it's why it's dangerous for them to make those types of jokes.
Neo-Nazis,
it's why it's dangerous for you to make.
Neo-Nazis have always existed, though.
Yeah, but they're really on the rise right now. They didn't exist in this exact same way back in 2000.
Are they really?
It seems like it based on my personal experiences, but I can't say for sure.
I think it's just the internet.
Yeah, I think the internet allows.
It's not reflective of real life.
I think internet allows neo-Nazis to communicate one another and organize one another, and that's how you get these marches. That's how you get these groups doing what they do.
It's a march with like 300 people.
I think 300 Nazis is still something to worry about. I don't know about you, but I don't like having one Nazi in my fucking country. So when I get to up to 300, I get pretty fucking concerned.
Okay, if there's 300 people that march and there's 365 million people in the country, that means it's 1 in every million person is a Nazi. That's pretty good.
Well, I think it always comes down to personal choice, right? Like you might choose to go to your YouTube channel tomorrow and inward this and inward that, and Dave Chappelle can talk about trans people and Louis C.K., right?
It's because now it's like not socially acceptable like it was back in 2016, 17, and now the advertisers are not as forgiving of stuff like that. So don't you think that's the real reason?
But again, no, I think, are you saying that the only reason you don't make those jokes anymore on your YouTube channel is because you won't get paid if you do? Is that what you're?
That's certainly part of it.
Putting together. That's interesting. I don't make those, and that's entirely up to you, right? Like I'm not here to judge you or anybody else. I choose not to make those jokes because, well, it's kind of one of the reasons I gave up on my Francis character. If you remember that, if people don't know, I used to do a character called Francis, where at 600 pounds, I would pretend to like abuse my sister character and like throw shit at her and break TVs and do all of that shit. And I went to a convention circa 2015, 2016, and I was meeting people that liked the character not because he was the asshole, but because they represented them. They liked him because he was an asshole. They weren't there to make fun of the asshole. They liked that I was being an asshole. They thought I was actually that asshole. And so it really gave me pause. It's the same people who tuned into The Sopranos and rooted for Tony Soprano, the same people that tuned into Rick and Morty and root for Rick, or people that watched Breaking Bad and right to the end, they were rooting for Walter White.
Convention and that you were actually...
Oh, I can't tell you how many times to this day I will still get people saying, like, oh, you've changed your voice. Good job. Like, that was never my voice, man. But the thing is, that's the only content they've ever seen. I think one of the reasons, I have a question about your video. Did you put in the abuse allegations from back in 2017? Did you include those in your video?
I don't think.
There was a girl by the name of Lucy Fox, and she said that was emotionally abusive to her and stuff like that.
She said that. I didn't say that you were.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about that for a second. So I think one of the reasons it was so easy for people to believe that, and I've seen this comment, people saying, I've seen videos of you abusing your wife, because they confused me for the character that I played. They think that the footage of me throwing Pokemon dolls at my wife playing the sister character was me actually abusing her.
I mean,
so I think that's one of the
sure
reasons
a small portion of the audience think that, but that's ultimately like those people are forgotten.
Yeah, I mean, it comes up every once in a while still in my comment section, and I don't know if they're trolling or not.
A random comment. Like I get random comments all the time saying that I'm people's long lost brother and how we're going to be reunited. Like you get schizo comments from people.
Does that not bother you? Does that not scare you? Because it scares the shit out of me. It gets lodged in my head, and I will think about one of those types of comments for days at a time. I've always been afraid, like one of these motherfuckers was going to show up at my front door, and one of them did, and because they thought that was okay to do that because they had, depersonalized. I mean, also
do you think Frank thought it was okay to do that?
I don't know why he would have done it otherwise.
He just thought it was funny.
I think it was a not great thing for anyone to do, even if it was to someone like me.
I agree. I agree with you, but I don't think he did it because he thought it was so socially acceptable or he thought you deserved it. He just thought it was funny and he wanted to do it for views, and it got him views.
Yeah, it did. To this day, if you Google his name, I think a picture of me is one of the first things that comes up. So I don't know if that's the type of legacy that I want to leave, but I saw him on the fish tank recently. The fish tank was excellent. Oh, and the moment where he was like talking to Airsoft Fatty, I was like, man, maybe I'm wrong about this guy a little bit. I mean, I will never have the opportunity to act on that, but his like heart to heart with Fatty, I was like, maybe I'm a little bit wrong with this guy, but whatever. But going back to those abuse allegations, right? Do you believe that I was emotionally abusive to this girl or any girl? Is that something that you genuinely believe out of curiosity?
I have no idea. Do I know? No. But
Do you think?
I mean, you yourself told me you're mentally ill, you're delusional,
Yeah.
these weird headspaces. So maybe.
So that's something I wanted to admit on this podcast, and I know it's going to have a hell of a backlash, but I'm going to admit it. I have been recently diagnosed as autistic, and for the longest time, I thought it was like post-traumatic stress disorder that would cause me to act the way that I would act when I would have an autistic meltdown. But I think now, more than me and my therapist agree, that most of the moments I've had that have been anything that could be even remotely close to abusive would be having an autistic meltdown, and what those look like. And that girl did see this one day. It's me begging her to leave me alone. Please just leave me alone. Please stop raising your voice with me. Please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. Hitting myself in the head. Just leave me the fuck alone. I need you to leave me alone. Please, just leave. Just leave. Just leave. And in retrospect, I feel that is borderline abusive. And it's something I've wanted to fix. It's something I've wanted to correct. My ex-wife probably saw that all of 3 or 4 times in the time that we were together. That girl saw me do that when she raised her voice with me and was yelling at me, and I felt the need to try to get her to stop. And but that said, to think that I have a pattern of emotional abuse or some sort of like nefarious pattern of physical abuse or something like that, one of the reasons that has bothered me so much is because I managed to end the cycle of abuse. My parents beat on us kids like it was a fucking career. Emotional abuse was just what they called interacting with their children. And so the fact that I've never done that to another person is something I'm very proud of. I'm very proud that I've never intentionally hurt another person the way they intentionally hurt us. And when people accuse me of doing that, it's very hurtful for me. I find it extremely painful. Does that make sense? So I'm glad to know, because so many people are convinced that I'm that kind of person, convinced that I did it. And that's very difficult for me to handle. In fact, that's something I have tried to like manipulate my way around, is like try to convince people to see the reality that that's not a possibility. But so many people want me to be that for some reason. I don't know why. What else was in your video? What other points did you make that you think is interesting for people?
I mean, it's a long video.
Yeah.
Here.
I feel like to some level, not just in the things that were in the video, but what are you personally invested about? Because I feel like there has to be some level of personal investment to have made as many videos as you've made. There's probably things that you particularly care about yourself as Tom.
What's my personal investment? I mean, I don't know that it's like a moral investment. I just found your story interesting. You know, you're very YouTube legend kind of thing, and
I like that.
You've ended up very different. I don't know that it's like I wasn't like a huge fan of you back in the day or anything.
Yeah, sure.
But you know, I remember watching you during the you know, when I was getting into the commentary stuff and the Anita thing happened. You were talked about during that, so.
Oh yeah, that was a rough time for me, man.
Yeah, I talked about that in the video. But I mean, the video is less of like points against you. I don't think there's any point I could make. Nobody has.
Well, to talk about the Anita Sarkeesian thing, a little bit. I'm not sure what you included in that, but like Gamergate was happening, and this is where I got labeled as a centrist because I believed during Gamergate that you could both fix gaming journalism without harassing women, right? I didn't think it had to be one or the other. We weren't going to fix gaming journalism by harassing women. That wasn't going to achieve anything, right? So I felt like we could fix gaming journalism and leave women in gaming alone. And that got me labeled as a centrist. Like, you have to pick a side. Either we hate women in gaming or, you're a sellout piece of shit. And I disagreed wholeheartedly. But that said, I feel like I also miscommunicated that. So a lot of people felt like I was taking the feminist side of things, which wasn't necessarily the truth. But then feminists were mad that I didn't take their side. And so then I got put on a panel with Anita Sarkeesian. And I already had a reputation online as being some alt-right something in her mind. And so she went off on me. And dude, I'm a people pleaser. I feel like if I was ever going to be emotionally abusive to anybody, it might have been her, because she was being verbally abusive to me. She was saying some not great stuff to my face.
So I mean, this is the thing with the people pleaser. This is why people call you a fence sitter, because you'll have a very strong opinion one way that I think you genuinely feel, and then when someone responds to you, I mean, even if it's a small amount of response, like with your take that people who misgender others should be in jail, and then people will respond, you'll immediately go back the other way.
Well, I didn't think they should be in jail, but I was in favor of there being some level of punishment for purposely misgendering somebody, and I still think there's probably some level of punishment that is appropriate for that. I don't think jail time.
Someone?
No, for purposely misgendering somebody. If I sat here and started screaming at you, Tom, you're a girl, you're a fucking girl, Tom, you're a woman, look at you, you don't have a penis, like that's a verbal assault. That's messed up. That probably deserves a level of punishment to some degree. In fact, in the United States, verbal assault is punishable by law. So I feel like that is fair if that's the type of verbal assault you're going for. But verbal assault is punishable by law, and I support that. Do you not? If somebody verbally assaults somebody else, you don't think that's punishable by law?
I don't think it should be.
Oh, interesting. Well, I'm not saying they should go to jail. I'm saying more, maybe even a private thing, maybe a fine, maybe a slap on the wrist, nothing larger than a misdemeanor by any definition. But certainly people should be taught to not verbally assault each other, or otherwise we're going to have a hell of an interesting
I thought
society.
You tweeted, I can probably pull it up specifically. I thought you had tweeted that you wanted people to be felons for that.
God, I hope I'm not that stupid. It is entirely possible I said something like that, but that's not an opinion I would stand by now. That would be lunacy.
You said, okay, Boogie said people who purposely misgender should get hit with a misdemeanor charge and even possible jail time if it evolves into hate speech, is what you said. Let me read your quote. You said, I personally think if you're misgendering someone, it's a non-starter. Purposely angrily doing it, I think a slap on the wrist misdemeanor is well within order. If it's actual hate speech, then go f*** yourself, lock them up. So that's what you said.
Yeah, if it's actual hate speech. Yeah, I genuinely believe.
So how do you define actual hate speech? Because in this context, you're talking about misgendering someone. Wouldn't you say is it not such a large leap to come to the conclusion that you were talking about someone, maybe if they're aggressively misgendering someone 20 times, then they should be locked up? Is that not what conclusion people will draw from this?
Well, let's see if we can find some common ground here. If I had a mental episode and I walked up to a black man and I started calling him the N-word over and over and over again in an attempt to incite something, would you call that hate speech? And would you call that something that's punishable by law?
It might be punishable by law. I'm not really sure.
Not on board with that. Okay.
I think it's probably not.
I think it should be. I think that if I'm verbally assaulting someone in the hopes of creating an altercation, that is assault, and that should probably be punishable by law. I think specifically when you're doing that based on somebody's racial background, the religious choices that they're making, or the religion that they were born into, the sexuality that they were born with, I think that is particularly heinous and deserves more than a misdemeanor. How much more, I can't say for sure. But I say, yeah, if I had a mental episode tomorrow and I went downtown and started screaming the N-word at a black person in the attempt to incite something and intend to harm that person, I should be arrested and taken to jail and processed. Is that what you're
talking about in this tweet?
Well, so let's talk. If I did the same thing for a trans person, I was assaulting a trans person with my words in the attempt to incite a riot, incite a fight, disturb the peace. Yeah, I probably should be arrested and taken in. And I do believe that is hate speech. I do believe choosing to purposely misgender and verbally assault a trans person is wrong. I think most people would agree with that.
I think it's wrong, but do you think that deserves jail time? Because a lot of things can be wrong without needing legal punishment.
Yeah, probably not jail time unless you're like a repeat offender. But certainly, I think you should be arrested and put in a tank to give you a cool-off period.
What if you do it on YouTube?
Well, there's definitely going to be ramifications for that. Probably not jail time, but certainly YouTube. That's against YouTube policy.
But what do you think should happen?
I don't know. I'm not really judge and jury. If I were to do something like that, I would like to be held accountable. And I would like to think that accountability would involve certainly no sponsors on my video. I would probably imagine that it would get my monetization taken away for a period of time, like a cool-off period, and I think that would be appropriate. I don't necessarily think a channel should be deleted or removed from the platform for that specific offense as a first-time offender, because I feel like people can learn and grow, learn why that was wrong to do, and grow as a person. So somewhere along that lines, I would imagine. Where would you put that line?
If it was up to me, then nothing would happen, but it's not up to me.
Yeah. Well, I wonder. So the same way you said, there's things that you regret from when you were younger. I wonder if you'll change that opinion as the time progresses, because I've noticed a lot of people in my generation that I was born around were very conservative, and I even was a registered Republican when I was 18 years old. But then I began to realize like what the social aspect of being a conservative was for me, and I started voting off of not financial issues, because I still think I'm a financial conservative to some degree, but socially I'm a bit of a liberal, more a libertarian than I think a liberal. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten more liberal. I don't give a if you want to put on a dress tomorrow and tell me you're a woman, I don't care. You're a woman. I'll use whatever pronouns you want. I don't really care. If you wake up tomorrow and you decide you want to be in love with a man or two men or three men and five women, and you have a whole house full, Mormon house full of 27 wives and two husbands, I don't care. I just want you to have the same rights as everybody else. Live as happy as you want to live. I don't care if you're black or white, short or tall, fat or skinny. That doesn't really matter. I just want people to live the best life that they can live. And I do believe socially, Americans deserve the same rights that every other first world nation has. I think we deserve access to healthcare the same way every other first world nation has. I think we deserve access to education the same way every first world nation does. So I'm curious if you think you'll hold that opinion when you're 30 and 40, or do you think you'll more side on the just leave everybody alone kind of opinion?
I mean, I'm not anti trans rights. I'm just also pro the rights of people being mean to them.
Yeah. So out of curiosity, do you think it's wrong to shout fire in a crowded theater and start a stampede and get people killed?
Is it wrong? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it should be punishable by law to do that?
Do I think that specifically should be punishable by law? Yes.
So you do agree that speech should be limited to some degree in some scenarios, right? And we just disagree where that line is. And I think verbal assault, something I've even done, we've seen me lose my temper. It's definitely happened a handful of times in my lifetime. I feel like I should not have done that. It was harmful to the people I did that to, and there should be some sort of ramification. I don't think felony. And I definitely don't think jail time. But I think that's an interesting one. And I think your point of view is valid. I just don't particularly share the same point of view. But I think there's a lot of people out there that agree with that. I do believe, like, for example, people have asked me why I haven't had the Lucy Fox video taken down where the girl falsely accused me of emotional abuse. And it's because she has every right to say what she wants to say. My picture's in that. I could abuse copyright. It wouldn't work out well for me, but I could do it.
Well, she has a right to say what she wants to say, but if you want to take her, legally she has a right to say it, but if you want to take her to civil court, you could.
Yeah. And she doesn't have anything to begin with, or at least she didn't at the time. And secondly, she was young and people make mistakes. It was a very stupid thing for her to do, but I don't feel like that should ruin the rest of her life.
But maybe not. But that allegation caused a lot of struggle for you, caused a lot of strife for you. Aren't you upset about that?
Well, number one, I'm pretty miserable all the time anyway, so it wasn't a huge hit. Secondly, I felt like after watching the video, anyone with a brain is going to see what she's really upset about is that the $10,000 or $12,000 she got in that 3 months wasn't enough. She wanted twice that, three times that. She wanted to live in my home. She wanted to have all of my money. She wanted to have access to everything. She would even bring up, when I move into your house, this is going to change. I'm going to get rid of all this nerdy shit. And I would remind her, like, you're never moving in. Like, this is not the kind of arrangement we have. She get very upset at those types of things, So I feel like anybody who watches that video, hears her make one claim of emotional abuse and spend 9 minutes complaining about money, they'll know what she's actually about. And I think most people do.
Okay, there you go. I guess you don't need to take it down.
Yeah. I mean, it's done irrevocable harm, and I hate it to see you bring it back up. But I think if it seems like your video, and this is something I've seen you do, so it makes sense. It was more of a historical thing. It wasn't a personal vendetta. You were trying to draw a conclusion. You were just kind of going over the history of some of this stuff, right?
I mean, there definitely is a conclusion. I think the conclusion is that you have a very bad habit of, when something goes wrong, you tend to kick yourself in the foot, or when something goes right, you tend to fumble it. Like the end of the video conclude with the whole crypto thing, in which case you made a bunch of money, and then you foolishly began believing that somehow you were educated on crypto, or you could keep investing, and then you lost it all.
Can you hold on a second? Okay, it said it wasn't recording, and I panicked, but it was. Okay. Whoo! Holy shit! Because we have such good here. Okay, I've hit record again. It is recording again. So you mentioned the crypto loss. Yeah, that was a very stupid thing for me. Do you know why I did what I did in that particular instance? Are you interested in learning? Because I think our audience might be interested.
I believe the claim is that your friend, I think it was McJuggernuggets, gave you advice or something.
Yeah, so I had this sounds like so much money because it is, but I can say for certain you make more than this in a month. If I looked at your statistics, I bet you do. But I had saved and saved and saved and saved. And after my divorce, I looked at my bank account and I saw my YouTube numbers dwindling, and I saw the paycheck dwindling every month. And I had about $175,000 to my name. And
do you think I make more than that in a month?
Don't you get like 10, 20 million views a month?
I get like 10 million on my main channel. I don't make $175,000 a month. I wish.
So 70, 80,000 if I had to guess then?
Yeah, around there.
Based on those numbers? Right. So in 2 or 3 months, you made as much as I made off 17 years on the platform to some degree. Like as much as I was able to save after everything, right? And so I never made the kind of money you guys think I did because I just struck my fame way too early on the platform, and the money wasn't there back then. The money's there now, but it wasn't then. I've never made 70 or 1,000. You know what my biggest monthly paycheck on YouTube was? Not including sponsors, about $17,000. Including sponsors, the most I ever made in a month was about 30K.
I mean, 30 is a great paycheck though. Most people don't make that in their entire life, and they.
Oh, and I squandered it too. I got divorced, which cost me like $250,000.
But
and then like
even beyond that, there's people who make, I mean, money, you know, like you did, like 10, 20,000. That's a very respectable income a month for any person.
Yeah, if I could get back to that, I would be very happy. I you know how much I made last month with everything involved? About 3K. That's why I did the fight, because 10K is a lot of money to me these days. But I had about $175,000, and I did the math. Like my mortgage every year is $24,000, right? So just my mortgage alone, my health insurance is $780. Then gas, water, electric, all the other stuff. I was spending about $5,000 a month. So I sat down and I did the math, and I'm like, wow, I'm broke in less than 5 years, and I'm losing my YouTube income, and I don't know what else I could do.
Well, don't you think what you could have done is change your YouTube content and make more money?
Well, I was trying to do that every day. I'm trying to do that right now. That's literally what we're doing right now by recording this. I've tried to pivot as many times as I can, but I just don't have the skill, talent.
It's very like kind of low effort, low energy stuff. And I understand what you're saying. You don't necessarily have the time for everything.
Yeah.
But you know, I think you have the time to put in a little more work to the videos, to maybe try and write some videos, to maybe try and edit them a little better, to make the thumbnails better, to make the titles better. Like I think there's always time for that.
There's always improvements to be made. And if you look at my content just a year ago, I think the content I'm making now is definitely more interesting and more palpable with better thumbnails. If you go back 2 or 3 years, it's drastically better. Pre-COVID and post-COVID was definitely a huge shift. Post-Frank was another shift. And in the last year, I've really been putting some effort into those things, but I don't understand what YouTube wants or needs. I don't know.
It's just what people want to watch.
Yeah. And so I'm trying a lot of new stuff, and some of it's definitely worked in the last few months. But at the time, I thought with this subreddit going against me, and I thought with these rumors of me being an abuser or whatever I was, plus the actual things I had done, like being mentally unwell and being an asshole, and all the effects that was having, I'm like, it doesn't matter what I do in my YouTube content. People hate me now. So I'm going to do what I can to make this money. And my friend, Jesse, I hate to talk his but he 10x'd some money on crypto and was convincing me that I could 10x my money too. And I thought, hell, you know, if I want to go broke anyway, either I can go broke this year, and I remember I wasn't planning to live through that year anyway.
Yeah.
I could either go broke this year and just shuffle off this mortal coil, or if I have $2 million, I'll probably choose to live. If I have enough money to retire off of, you know. It didn't work. It did the opposite of work. There was a period of time where I turned that 170 into like 700,000 before taxes. If I pulled it out, I would have cleared, like, I would have almost 2x my money, and that would have been great. I really wish I had done that.
That's amazing.
And then I woke up the next day and it was worth less than I'd put in. But
the thing is, it wasn't just like a one day to the next day thing. It's like you made
it was. Money. It really was. I put my money into storage, and one day it was like 700,000, and the next day it was worth less than 200,000 again.
Well, what do you mean you put it into storage? Because you didn't cash out.
Well, I bought the coin, and the coin has never gone back up in value.
Yeah, but you didn't cash out. Cashing out would be what?
No, I did. I did end up cashing out eventually. Yeah, took that huge loss. Took the huge loss.
But you didn't.
That coin's never
gone
back up.
You didn't cash out when it was up. Because when it was up, you made a YouTube video about how you had all this money.
Yeah, it was a very stupid thing to not cash out then. And you know, it's so interesting to, like, what do you think I said in that video? Have you seen that video? What do you think I said in that video? Because I know what I thought I said.
What do I think you said?
Yeah, like, what do you think the point of that video was?
You got extremely lucky, and that you hadn't cashed out yet, and then you were gonna wait a little longer, but that you would be able to retire.
Yeah, which was, like I said, $700,000, which was enough, I thought, to live the rest of my life on, because the prospect of me living another 10 years seemed really slim.
Well, regardless of that, 700,000, you know, like you said, after taxes, 5, maybe 4,
$500,000,
yeah, but still, that's amazing. And then
that's a tremendous amount of money,
able to, and you could have cashed out then, but you have,
and I had my,
you had like the gambler's fallacy.
Well, yo, on top of that, you know what sucks so bad about it? I had myself convinced that wasn't enough money. Like I would cut my left nut off right now and eat it to have $500,000 right now. There's nothing I wouldn't do to get $500,000 right now. But at the time when I
do you have like people around you, like friends that would tell you like cash out?
No, they were telling me to keep my money in. They were all telling me to keep it in. Jesse was telling me keep it in, write it out.
There's some bad friends, man.
Yeah, I would not disagree.
You need new friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, me and Jesse don't really talk anymore. In fact, I'll tell you, I don't even know if I'll include this in the video, but did you see my fight? Did you watch this fight I did? It was an embarrassment, obviously.
I did watch it. Yes, I did.
Yeah. It was a huge embarrassment on my part. I mean, a lot of people are proud that I just got into the ring, and I'm kind of proud that I got into the ring, but I had no chance against the guy. He's younger, healthier, has the longer reach, was more fit. Like my 6 weeks preparation was just going to physical therapy, learning how to walk again so I could make it to England. Like that was my focus, right? His focus was learning to fight. So he went in just infinitely better than me. But that said, did you see what my opponent was wearing? My opponent was wearing a Psycho Dad t-shirt. Jesse sponsored my opponent. Like that's crazy.
Do you understand why he was spiteful though?
Yeah, he actually said in the video that he hoped I got hurt, which I think is
okay. But do you know why he did that? Because it's not because of the crypto. It's because you called him transphobic.
Because he was being transphobic. Yeah, he said something transphobic. It was really messed up, the thing he said.
But you understand, like you with all of your baggage decided that it would be good to go after this guy for something he did. I guess he was being transphobic. I don't know if he was. Something he apparently did privately.
I don't think I've ever been transphobic, but yeah, I do have baggage. But I've actually I grew up with a trans person.
I'm not saying you have to be transphobic. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, that you both have histories. You obviously more than him. And a moment of weakness for him when someone came out against him to try and hurt his reputation, you backed that person up instead of your friend.
Well, the reason I backed up that person is because it was my friend Emily, and she asked me to help, and I chose to help because she's a friend. And me and Jesse had not talked at years at that point. We had a falling out. He threw me out of his house for just the weirdest reason. He threw me out of his house because someone else was filming girls that I didn't bring. That's just so weird that I got thrown out because
I don't know the whole situation. I don't know what the whole situation is there. I know there was like some hookers involved or something. But what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that you understand why he was like kind of mad.
Yeah, but I still think it was kind of unusual to sponsor my opponent there or whatever.
Is it unusual?
Yeah, it seems really unusual. I wouldn't have done that. I don't think.
I mean, it's like petty. Is it unusual? I mean, it's just he was mad at you because you at a low point when someone was making allegations to try to cancel him. You know, you back that person up, and it's not like it was an allegation of like or sexual assault. It was an allegation that he said something mean.
Do you think it was wrong for me to tell him not to assault, not verbally assault or drag? It turns out Emily also fucked up really bad too. I didn't know that at the time. When I joined the crusade against Jesse, I didn't know that Emily had also been
What did Emily do? I don't know the story there.
So I don't know that well either. Apparently she was making like jokes about putting estrogen in his food. And apparently there was like something where she was sitting in a room listening to him have one day or something and like made a joke the next day. So Jesse was right to be petty in that situation, and I think he was right to be petty in my situation as well. Give him full credit, right? At the same time, I think it's also okay to tell your friends, hey, don't be transphobic. Hey, don't be racist. I don't like it.
But you didn't say that to him. You said it on Twitter in public.
Yeah, it was a really stupid thing to do, I think, in retrospect. I think it is important to hold people accountable sometimes for the same things they say and do. Certainly, people like you have held me accountable, right? And when it's an actual thing I've said, when it's an actual thing I did, I think it's important to hold people accountable, right? That's why I liked Content Cop. I didn't necessarily like every episode of Content Cop, but I liked it when he held Keemstar accountable. Someone should hold Keemstar accountable for the things he says and does, right? Even Keemstar admitted that on my podcast. Someone has to police check him because he's a very powerful person. And iDubbbz was the person. So that said, I never had any delusions he was going to get canceled or his career was going to be over. Hell, he barely uploads as it is, and nobody watches what he uploads now. So what's he going to lose? He's a multi-millionaire, I'm certain of it, based on the homes that he owns. So he's not going to lose his income because he doesn't need one. I thought it was important to say, hey, don't say things like that if specifically to a personal friend. But
Fair enough. I agree. Yeah. But don't you think there's a good reason for Jesse to be upset, given the fact that this person who had, and now you admit, who had fucked him over, right? Who had personally fucked him over, then tried to do it to him in public, and what you did was back them up instead of, Jesse.
And so here's what I'm going to do: a classic Boogie backpedal right now, because you've given me some new perspective and new information, and I think you're right. And so I'm going to backpedal from the thing I said 5 minutes ago, and I do this kind of shit all the time. When I'm given new information and a new perspective, sometimes my perspective changes, and it's specifically because in this particular case, and I hope I give you a better insight into the way my brain works. It was so personally painful to me. I had painted Jesse out to be the bad guy in my brain. Oh, he's a bad guy. He made my fight about him. How dare he do that? That's so messed up. This moment's about me. I don't want to be thinking about him and our drama in the middle of my moment and my fight. And when I see it from this new perspective, I'm like, wow, I was the asshole. I probably shouldn't think that way. Does that make sense?
Sure. I mean, I don't know Jesse. I mean, the whole story fire thing was probably not good, but
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all like personal drama from friend to friend, and I regret having aired it at all. In fact, it might not even make this edit, but if it does, hi Jesse, I still love you, brother, to some degree. So, is there any other big ones that you think our mutual audiences would be interested in? Is there any, what out of all the things that you researched in that video, what do you think was the most interesting thing we haven't covered? Because I'm sure I've wasted so much of your time already today.
No, it's all right. I agreed to come on. I'm recording too, by the way, just to make sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything I have a question about. I don't think there's anything in the video that's like a questionable situation where it's like, did this happen? Because I think I pretty much know the truth of all of it. I guess I am curious now what your opinion would be of the Frank Hassel events and how you would look back at that. Would you have done anything differently?
Yeah. So here's my perspective of that. I think you're friends with Frank to some degree. I've certainly seen photos of you guys together, right?
Yeah, we've hung out, yeah.
See, I think you know him better than I do. But my perspective of him at the time, somebody came into my chat and said, oh, Frank Hassel's coming to your house. He's going to hurt you. He's going to murder you. He's going to end you. He's going to kill you. While I was live streaming one night. And I actually was in such a bad mental state at that time. I started crying. Like, that's out there. I'm sure people can find that clip if you haven't. And so I messaged the guy and I'm like, hey man, are you like for real? Or are you just like a comedian? And I also went to like Keemstar and Ethan Ralph and people like that. Is this guy like actually dangerous? And they all assured me that he's a comedian. Nothing bad's going to happen, Boogie. It's all a bit, So I agreed to go on the Ethan Ralph podcast with him. And I was like, go ahead, be the bad guy. You can clown on me. I don't really care. And he did all the same shit. He said stuff like, oh, you're fat or you're fucking gay. The usual Frank shit. But then halfway through that podcast, he's like, what happens when I show up to your house? And I'm like, I don't know, man, I'll take you out to dinner, I guess. And eventually he's like, no, Boogie, you don't understand. I'm coming to your house one day. And when I do, it's going to be the worst day of your fucking life. It'll be worse than the day your parents molested you. I'm going to fucking ruin you. And that triggered something in my brain, man. And it triggered the old country man in me that said, we don't take shit like that from nobody. It also triggered the victim part of me where I'm like terrified of the guy now. And so I spiraled the fuck out of control. I left the podcast and I took him for his word. As I think anybody would. I think most people, if somebody says something like that to you, you're going to believe them. And so 6 weeks later, he's in my town taking photos in my neighborhood. I'm in your town, you fat FAGGOT. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So I reached out to Keemstar again and I'm like, hey man, this isn't cool. Why is he here? What's going on? Don't worry, Boogie. He'll never come to your house. So 2 days later, or however long, 24 hours later, I don't know. I was out of my mind. I didn't sleep. We barred every window and door. We set the alarms. We put shit in front of doors so he couldn't come in. I didn't know I was going to get shot or killed. I had no clue. And that's what I genuinely had convinced myself was likely. I even called the cops the night before and talked to him. If this guy shows up, what am I supposed to do? So if he tries to enter your home, you have every right to defend yourself. Okay. So then I end up on that podcast with Keemstar, and the old country man in me comes out, and I just kept telling him over and over again, if you show up here, son, I'm going to kill you.
So why didn't you kill him? Why didn't you?
I don't think I'm a killer. That's the easiest one. I don't think I have it in me. The second one was I saw that GoPro strapped to his head, and I realized I was going to have to sit in a court and watch me murder somebody from their own perspective. And thirdly, it's because he didn't do anything threatening other than verbally assault me. And I don't believe you should end a person's life for verbal assault. Just because he's calling me an FAGGOT, just because he's calling me the N word, just because he's on my personal property, I believe he has the right to leave. And he chose to do so, and I'm glad he did. I'm glad he didn't like attack me or try to do anything like that, because I think there was a real chance I would have pulled that trigger. And I did pull the trigger, and that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Out of all the stupid shit I've ever done, I endangered the lives of myself, of that person, of my neighbors. That bullet has to come down somewhere. That was an idiotic thing for me to do. And it's something I've lived with a tremendous amount of guilt and regret over this whole time. It's just been something that's, and I took my legal lumps, and I'm still suffering. And I spent $27,000 in legal fees to keep my out of jail because they wanted to throw the book at me to make a high profile case of like gun control. At the end of the day, I don't think the threat that Frank made was right. And I definitely don't think him showing up on my property was right. That said, I don't think me pulling the trigger was right. I don't think me threatening him on that podcast was right. And I don't think his initial desire to come at me was right at all either, to that degree. And I think that's one of the reasons.
Thought about that as like kind of an opportunity in retrospect to rehabilitate yourself?
I have quite a bit actually because of that. One of the very first. I think that, I don't know what I could possibly do to win the people that are like, Frank was right, you deserve that. There's nothing I can do to bring those people back.
Well, why don't we those people,
right?
The more normie YouTube audience who probably saw that and thought it was, fucked up for people to do that.
Well, my lawyer immediately told me after that to stop making content, and he was right to tell me that. After that incident, he told me to lay as low as humanly possible, and I had already in my mind begun to retire. Like, I'm done with YouTube.
But I think the reason why is because he thought that you would make it worse for yourself rather than the fear that someone else would do it. I think he was afraid that you would say something that would make you look bad, or you would contradict yourself.
Oh, that's what it's exactly what my lawyer told me to do, because I'm an idiot. Like, my lawyer, God bless him, Pine Dryer, he knows me from back in the Magic days. We've known each other for 25 years. He knows what an idiot I am. He's seen me at my absolute worst stupidities, right? He's seen me when I was homeless. He's seen me when I was getting on disability. He saw me when I was at my absolute most miserable moments in life. And so his advice was lay low, shut the fuck up, don't talk about it, don't say that person's name ever again, don't go on any podcasts about it. And I'm like, this is a redemption tour for me. Like, there's so many people taking my side, and he's like, is it good to have a YouTube career while you're in jail, Boogie? Because I'm trying to keep you out of jail. And he was right to do that, I think. I also started really intense therapy at the beginning of that year. I was seeing somebody via BetterHelp, but also in person, because BetterHelp tells you to. They're like, you should also consult like a therapist that you see in person. And boy, we made some progress after that, for sure.
Is BetterHelp good? Do you remember there was like a controversy with them a few years ago?
I will tell you that last year, I got assigned with the best therapist I've ever had. And I don't know if that speaks well of that therapist as much as it does the service, because the service could still be I don't know. I just used it as a matchmaking system to get in contact with this one particular therapist. And that particular therapist works daily with children who are abuse survivors as children, and also at night works with adults who have been abused children. So he knew me like the back of my hand, and I got the best therapy I've ever had.
But as far as BetterHelp, you haven't. I thought there was some kind of service on it where you would talk to like a therapist.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. I was doing phone therapy once a week. You can do video therapy as well. And I think video therapy and phone therapy, especially during COVID, was just as valid as any other type of therapy. Because I wasn't willing to die getting therapy. I wasn't willing to get a cold or get COVID and fucking die from that.
Okay.
My doctor told me to be very careful about that. But yeah, no, I think BetterHelp is a very good service depending on who you get matched with. And I think therapy is like dating. If people don't know that, you absolutely need to get the right therapist who gets you, and you get that therapist. And if you don't, you're not going to have a good time in therapy. You need to shop around therapy the same way you shop around dating.
How do you feel about when you see a video from someone like June the King or Christopher Tom or me, when you see one of us drop a video documenting your stuff? How does that make you feel when you timeline? So
when Christopher Tom made his first video, it was devastating for me. I was already suicidal but boy, it hastened my timeline quite a bit. And I can't put that on that kid. That's on me, you know. He took that mega thread and decided to make a video for it. 3 million people saw it and they believed all of the shit. And I was seeing that in my timeline, my comment section every day. You were abusive to your wife. You're a piece of shit. You're all this other terrible shit. I don't know if anybody called me a racist, but you know what I'm saying. And it really leveled me. It destroyed me. My mental health crumbled. When I saw your video, this last Friday here, 7 years later, it started that same path. I immediately started to collapse on myself. I'm like, oh my God, all this goodwill from the fight is going to evaporate. People are going to go right back into believing these horrible things about me, some of which are true, some of which are not. And I'm not going to be able to get my income back up. I'm not going to be able to entertain people. I won't be able to help people. I won't be able to do the thing that I want to do here so desperately. And I'm very mad at Tom for choosing that. I'm mad that out of all the things Tom could make a video about today, why did he decide to shit on my particular parade? But it took me an hour or so to realize that that's a negative thought pattern. And that, as Keemstar said, it's just as good that people are talking you as if they're talking positively about you. Which would I rather have? People talking both positively and negatively about me, or people not talking at all? And I need people to watch my videos. I need people to check in what I'm doing every once in a while. I want it. I need it. I have to have it. I need the income that comes from it. So I tried to take it as a good thing, and I try to turn it into a good opportunity, like sitting down and talking with you today. And I think it's turned out to be a good opportunity. I think people are going to learn a lot about both of us during this podcast, and hopefully it'll be at least entertaining. I think posting this on my channel is going to do as much damage is good, but hopefully people will be entertained along the way.
Have people given you a lot of advice on YouTube, what they think you do? Like, I don't know, YouTube friends, have they been like, don't do this, oh, don't do that?
Yeah, all the time, yeah. And it's kind of frustrating for them.
Do you take it or no?
No, the same way, like my dietitian will set me down and be like, hey, if you eat 1,800 calories a day and it's mostly protein and you focus on the protein and the water macros, you're going to lose weight. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but have I done that yet? Do I seem like the person that's so in control of their eating that I'll be able to do that? And so when people are like, hey, make better videos, I'm like, okay, well, how about I sprout fucking wings and fly? I don't know what I'm doing, man. I just do what my brain tells me to do, and I try to function as a human. People tell me, hey, don't interact with negative people. Tom, don't do the podcast. Don't interview him. I did it anyway. I do what I do.
Do you not think you have more free will than that? I mean, you said your brain tells you what to do, but don't you tell your brain and your body what to do? Like, you have some
I'm learning.
choice.
I'm learning. I think, based on what I've learned in the last year in therapy, and I know everybody's going to say, oh, poor victim Boogie, but the truth of the matter is, when you live the first 18 years of your life in a war zone, it affects the person you're always going to be. When you wake up with a knife in you, when you wake up, when you get molested, when you get the shit beat out of you, when the parents who are supposed to take care of you and protect you instead abuse you and use you, it affects the person you are, and it always will. And that's just the reality of it. And so nobody taught me the humans, because, like, I don't know if you're close with your parents, Tom. I don't know if they taught you how to drive. I don't know if they taught you how to pay a bill. I don't know if they loved you and hugged you. I don't know if they took you to the fucking park. I don't know if they did that shit for you. But if they did, that shit didn't happen for me. The opposite of that shit happened. Nobody taught me shit. I've had to learn it all. I had to figure it all out on my own. And I had to learn it in a way that works with this broken body and this broken brain. And so it's frustrating, because I am learning the things that I need to learn, the skills that I need to learn. But I have a certain amount of arrested development that I've been struggling with for the entirety of my life. And I'm still struggling with it now. And I'll be honest with you, if this polycythemia shit doesn't kill me in 20 years, I'll still be struggling with it then. It's difficult when the demons that are in my skull are as loud as they are to not listen to them real fucking hard. But I do a pretty good job. I've never hurt another person, even though the people that hurt me, I've never done that to another person. I'm still alive, even though I had a voice in my head for the first 48 years telling me to blow my brains out. I have exerted some free will, but just not in areas that I think other people wished I would. I think people want to see me lose the weight, and I want that too. I think people want to see me gain better control of my faculties and my mental health, and I would like that too. I think people would like to see me create better content, and I would like that too. But my focus is almost always on just functioning as a human being and learning how to do that. I still don't know how to do that. And it's embarrassing and awful to admit that when you're a 48-year-old man. Yeah.
I hope you can do that.
Thanks, man.
that would make me very happy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. At the end of the
Obviously,
day,
as someone who profits on your demise, obviously that sounds a bit rich coming from me, but I genuinely, I hope you can figure it out while we're here talking in person.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, and I've always known this. I think one of the reasons so many people are so angry about the person that I turned out to be is because they were very invested in seeing me be more successful than I've had in all of these areas. They wanted me to lose more weight. They wanted me to be a better YouTuber. They wanted me to be a better person. And I think you are one of those people. I think you would gladly like to see that, even if it meant you'd make slightly less money, and the story's not over yet, and I'm still doing a lot of work, and I'm still trying to get as much done as I can. I think the window for like YouTube fame is closed, and that's okay. I think I'm permanently a lolcow, and it'll always be that way, and that's okay.
As it closed, I think that's a very defeatist way to look at it. I've had times in my career where everyone said, "Oh, he's a lolcow now. He's a lolcow. Can never come back." I figured it out.
Yeah,
it can be done.
Thank you. I did not expect to get hope from you today, but that is very helpful to me. Actually, thank you.
At the end of the day, I people think a lot of things of me, but I think if you make good content, it's undeniably good, then people will just watch.
I have a few ideas. Tell me what you think about this. Person to person. I got $5,000 payday coming. I got a $10,000 payday coming. And even though I had to spend about $11,000 out of savings, I could put that money back into savings, but let's be real. I got to put $3,000 aside from taxes. I had to borrow some money not too long ago from somebody. So I'm going to give that money back to them. And then on top of that, by the time it's all said and done, this payday for this fight's about $5,000. And I could just put that in the savings, or I could pay a couple of months for the mortgage. I think I want to go back to trying to create some really interesting content. And the interesting content that I want to do involves me getting back out of the world and doing some weight loss. Is that something you think you would personally like to see? Do you think that's something you think an audience would like to see?
I think you could have done that a few years ago, but I think now people are not invested in that from you. No, I wouldn't do that. I would put the money in savings, and then I would just try to make the best content you can with what you have. I mean, you have, a good radio voice. You have a good personality for stuff like that. You like interviewing people. You like video games, I guess. I would make content about that. I would stop talking about drama. I would start talking about video games and stuff like that. People used to watch me for that all the time. Just do that.
You know why I stopped talking about video games is because I love video games, and all of the news was so awful. Everything that was coming out. This company's full of rapists. This company's full of abusers. This company is full of microtransactions. They said this. Don't you guys have phones? Like watching Diablo crumble, or watching Blizzard crumble, watching Ubisoft crumble, watching Bethesda crumble, watching these titans of the industry that I loved crumble in front of me was so heartbreaking. It made me hate video games. I quit playing most games for a year, which is unheard of for me. Video games are my Netflix, right? I couldn't stand to do that news anymore because it was just so heartbreaking to me. Do you deal with that at all when it comes to, like, is it wrong to call you a bit of a muckraker sometimes? Because that's the phrase I use to describe the commentary community. Like, you look at human misery and you're like, let's prop up the human misery so everybody can stare. Does that get to you personally at all? Is there periods of times where you're like, the world's a shithole and I hate it?
Yeah, but I think I don't really see a reflection of that in my personal life, so it doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, I think that's one of the worst things that I deal with, is that I'm a ridiculously sensitive person. I think it's partially like the abuse survival, but I think if I came into this world into the perfect scenario, I think I would probably be just a soft little. If I'm being honest with you, like, my testosterone levels have always been so low and my estrogen levels have always been so high. It's a miracle that I function as a person.
Testosterone.
I am. I went back on it again. That's what gave me the polycythemia vera. So we had to go off of it for a while, but now I'm back on like the topical gel version, and it doesn't work as good, but we had to get back on it for the fight, and it's getting better. It's getting better. I was able to build some muscle again. I actually can see an effect when I work out instead of just like feeling weak afterwards. Like, I can actually see myself getting stronger and more mobile and stuff. So we're back on it. Since the topical stuff doesn't run the risk of giving you polycythemia vera, I'm mad that I wasn't always on it. I'm very mad that I have a blood disorder because of the injection one. But hey, I'm glad, at least I was able to function. Like when my doctor put me on the testosterone, Tom, he's like, well, your muscles can't repair without enough testosterone in your body. You need some testosterone. And I'm like, I don't care about my muscles, man. I barely use them. He's like, Steve, your heart's a muscle. Like, you're a huge candidate for a heart attack. Let's make sure that your heart functions. You have to do this. So I felt, I mean, we made the right decision at the time. I could have easily been dead of stroke or heart attack by now if I had not gone on it. But also, it sucks that I had got the rare side effect, but that shit happens. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I got to say, is there any other things, any of these other more contentious things? I think we covered the stuff that I mostly wanted to talk about. I mostly wanted to talk about the abuse allegations because those aren't true, and that one bothers me. I did definitely want to talk about the swatting thing because I made my mistake there, and I'm glad to cop to it. I did definitely want to talk about the abuse allegations and why they hurt me so very much. I think I definitely give you a better understanding of the way my brain works and whether that's useful for you or not. I hope it's useful to somebody out there who can relate to it, and hopefully they can do better than I did with that information. Like, know that you're not alone and that I've done a few good things. If I can do a few good things, maybe you can too. But is there any other big ones? Any other things that you're interested in?
That probably wraps it up. Are you cool with me posting this, or do you just want to post it to the channel?
If it's okay, can I edit it and post it, and then you can post your version after? Give me a chance to get the most views, and then you can post the unedited version. I just want to do a professional version of it, put it up on iTunes, give everybody a chance to listen, and then you can follow it up. Is that something you're interested in?
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Yeah, that would be great, man. And God bless you, man. Thank you for taking the time to do this, man. And I hopefully we'll get some people watching. Hopefully people will get a better understanding of me. And Tom, I'll be honest with you. I know you're not a huge fan of me, and that's okay. But if you ever want to talk, you ever want to bullshit, you ever want to play a game, you ever want to get to actually know each other, I'd be down for that, man. If I can be friends with
Fortnite.
I've literally never played that. I saw the you don't actually play Fortnite, do you?
I do. I play Fortnite almost every day.
That's so complicated to me. My brain can't keep up with that. Did you play Tears of the Kingdom yet? Or you do play those types of games?
I don't like Nintendo. No.
Yeah, that's more my style for sure. I cannot build and shoot. I can barely shoot.
I play the no build one, so I play the shoot one only.
All right, that I might have to try. Is it real? Like, do people actually have Rick and Morty and shit in like a regular game?
It's real.
God, that sounds awful. I have a friend. I met her down at Houston. She plays Fortnite. She's trying to get me to play with her, and I keep telling her no. Maybe one day. But
one day.
All right, man. Well, thank you, man, for taking the time to do this. I'll talk to you on Twitter. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I will speak with you again. Hey, man, thank you for that. I really appreciate it, dude.
No worries. Thanks for me on.
Yeah. All right. I'd love to do it any other time. You just want to come and bullshit or something, you want to have me on your I'll be glad to do it. And thank you for making like real content out of this. My friend had me worried that it wouldn't happen, and I'm really glad we got real content out of it, dude.
What friend out of curiosity? I won't put it in the edit or whatever. But
here's the thing: if you told me something in private, even in private, I don't share it, and is
someone we both know.
It is. It's someone that follows you. I can give you credit that. I don't know if you personally know them. Maybe and maybe not. I would not say privately. I'm sorry, man. It's the same way I wouldn't sell you out. I wouldn't sell anybody else. It's just how it is, man.
Don't worry about it. Thanks for coming on, though. Take care.
Yeah, thanks for understanding, buddy. See you.
Okay. That was, I don't know. How do I interpret what just happened? I guess my camera won't work right now on OBS because I had it open on Chrome or whatever. I don't know. I'm glad we had the conversation. I guess it was honestly better than I thought it would be. But regardless of that, I feel like he is lying about, the swatting thing. I mean, he claims to have copped to it, but it's not a real cop. I think he did lie about that. I think the alt accounts are his. I think the swatting, or not the swatting, sorry. I think the hacking was fake. The swatting was fake too. At least he doesn't think that I lied about him lying about being molested or something, which he said I did on Twitter at first, but then he deleted all those tweets and took that back. And I don't know. It seemed like he didn't even watch the fucking video, so I don't even know why he talked to me. I guess he just wanted some YouTuber to bring on and talk to him. But yeah, I honestly felt a little bit of that old Boogie charm when I was talking to him. He's kind of a captivating, likable guy. Outside of the stuff he does, he's kind of fun to talk to. But then again, he also goes on these huge tangents, and he speaks in such like a narrator kind of voice. I almost felt like I was being drugged down these rabbit holes, intentionally or unintentionally, to lead me away from the point of the conversation, which I thought was to really shit on him or something. I thought he wanted me to just talk about the video, but then he wanted to talk about all this other stuff and ask me questions about my career and stuff like that. But maybe I just got the wrong impression from that. I don't know. I guess I'm glad it happened. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it or something. I don't know when this is going to be posted. We're recording on the 29th, so I'm hopeful that it will be up sometime before the 3rd or 4th. I'm going to try to post it real soon. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you liked it. Dislike if you disliked it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about all this boogie stuff, and I'll catch you all in the next video on the Tom Dark channel. Bye.